Appliqué can be quite daunting if you've never done it before. So today, I'll walk you through nothing but the basics from someone who is very new to it as well. And I'm not trying to overwhelm you, so we are focusing on one appliqué and one appliqué only, which are these apple appliques. Get it? It's funny because yeah, you get it. But first, before I show you the individual steps, I'm just going to give you the very quick kind of spark notes, what you'll need to do for every and any appliqué. This is a very brief segment and I do recommend it, but if you don't think you need it, just jump to this timestamp. You'll need a stencil if you are doing multiple appliques of the same shape especially. You'll need a stabilizer. You're going to cut your stabilizer to match your stencil. And then you will need fabric of many varieties, all of which ideally do not fray at all, so that you can cut out all the different shapes you need to create your image. Once you have all the shapes and all the colors that you want to put your image together, you can attach a free-range sewing foot to your machine. You sew all of your fabric pieces down to your stabilizer first, so it kind of acts like a patch. And when your patch is to the point that you really love how it looks, you can sew this patch down to your clothing wherever you want it placed using your free-range sewing foot, making it very easy to hem over all of the raw edges so that they don't fray over time. And you can get very creative with a free-range sewing foot and embroider in all sorts of fun ways. So that's the Spark Notes version. If you want an even better Spark Notes version, please watch this video on Instagram. It is what got me into appliqué to begin with. I just wanted to give anybody that learns the way that I learned, which is a little bit slower, more time to really see all the steps of the process. Please note that I am an absolute beginner, so you're kind of learning alongside me, and with that, we can get started. To begin with, I made my stencil out of printer paper and a Sharpie, so not complicated. I drew a little apple slice, and I knew that I was going to want both slices and whole apples, but I only needed the one shape for both, because for the whole apples, I just obviously wouldn't include the inner details. I made sure it was a size that I liked in comparison to my clothing item, which is jeans in this case. And then I went ahead and cut off a big chunk of my tear away stabilizer. There are lots of different types out there, so just do your research and figure out what you like. I've heard that even freezer paper can be an option, so keep that in mind. And you're going to need stabilizer for every applique you want to create, which is why it's so helpful to have a stencil. All my apples are the right size and the same size as you can see, so very helpful to have a stencil, highly recommend it. I'm cutting out all of my little apples, and once you have a nice base to work with, as I stated earlier, it kind of acts like a patch. So I'm threading up my machine with red thread. I think that's a perfect color for red apples. And I'm first adhering the fabric to the stabilizer to begin creating the design on the patch, because I'm not ready to sew it to my clothing yet. I want to make sure it's perfect on its own. Not sure why I put the fabric on top of the stabilizer. I'm obviously still a beginner. It'd make a lot more sense to put the stabilizer on the fabric, which I do later, by the way, and you can see that. As you can see, this is the free-range sewing foot that I was talking about. And it's helpful now, but it's really going to come in handy when it's time to adhere our patch to the article of clothing, because if you don't have a free range, it's going to be very hard to cover up all those raw edges and to do it in a timely manner without having to shove your article of clothing, like through the gap in the sewing machine and rotate it a million different ways. Okay, so now that I have these little patches, mine are extremely simple. As you can see, there's just a red apple and a yellow apple. And the reason I'm not doing anything more complicated is because I'm hoping that the red thread will serve as the apple crust. So I pin them where I want them to go on my jeans, and then I kind of finally got the hang of the free range sewing foot here, and I started sewing swirls all around the outside of the apple slices to create kind of a red border. But I wasn't happy with just the thread. It looked a little bit weak, I guess. So I took some red embroidery thread and by hand started putting the finer details in on my appliques. Ideally, you'll have all these fine details done before you even attach it to the clothing item, and you can have these fine details included via more scrap fabric. That's why it's so important to have so much scrap fabric of different varieties on hand. I just kind of wanted to do embroidery personally, and I suppose that you could too. I think the only downside with embroidery is that it does kind of buckle the applique a little bit. As you can see here, I didn't do it perfectly, but they still look pretty cute. The last detail that I added was adding some different colored fabric around the bottoms of the jeans, the cuffs, so that when you rolled it up, it had that cute little like different color effect. But other than that, the project is complete. I hope that you do this for yourself, and even if you don't, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you very soon. Happy crafting and good night.